Written and directed by Damian McCarthy, Oddity, the 2024 film, is a slow-burn horror film from Ireland set against the haunting backdrop of a secluded rural country house. The plot follows Darcy Odello, a blind medium and curio shop owner, as she seeks to uncover the truth behind her twin sister Dani's savage murder. McCarthy blends a murder mystery with elements of supernatural horror, crafting a mix of mystery and terror that unfolds around the deep bond shared by the twins. The unsettlingly charismatic Ted, Dani's husband, and Yana, Ted's seemingly brave but deeply troubled girlfriend, join Darcy in her quest, all under the eerie presence of an ominous wooden mannequin. Premiering to acclaim at SXSW 2024, where it won the Midnighter Audience Award, Oddity quickly established itself as a standout horror film of the year, praised for its atmospheric tension and unique narrative twist. With an IMDb rating of 6.7/10 and a Rotten Tomatoes rating of 96%, Oddity is definitely on the list of best horror movies of 2024. Let's explore the movie in more depth, shall we? Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. The plot: a world of the strange and unsettling. The story of Oddity 2024 begins with a shocking murder of Dani Odello, played by Carolyn Bracken, wife of psychiatrist Ted Timmis. On the fateful night, Ted's ex-patient Olin Bull, played by Taji Murphy, pays Dani a frantic visit, claiming a stranger has infiltrated the house and begs her to open the door or call for help. Suspicion quickly falls on Olin, who's later convicted of Dani's murder, only to be found dead in his cell by Declan Barrett, played by Jonathan French, who slyly takes Olin's glass eye. A year later, Ted reconnects with Dani's twin sister, Darcy Odello, a blind clairvoyant and collector of cursed objects, at her eerie cabinet of curiosities. He informs Darcy of Olin's death and hands over his glass eye, fulfilling her request. On the anniversary of Dani's death, Darcy shows up unannounced at the rural house where Ted lives with his girlfriend, Yana, much to their annoyance. Yana, haunted by unsettling visions of Dani, has tried to confide in Ted, but he brushes off her concerns and tells her it's probably caused by her lack of sleep. After Ted heads to his hospital shift, a trunk containing a wooden mannequin is mysteriously delivered. Darcy reveals to Yana that it's an artifact gifted to Darcy's mother by an old witch during their anniversary. As night falls, the mannequin begins inexplicably shifting positions, terrifying Yana. Revealing her psychic abilities, Darcy confides in Yana that Olin isn't Donnie's killer, but claims the true culprit is Ivan, a hospital worker. Yana investigates the mannequin further, discovering the bizarre items: photographs of the twins, hair, a vial of blood, and even a tooth embedded in its head. This investigation brings out a vile side of the sleeping Darcy, disturbing Yana even more. Yana sees another apparition of Dani and, overcome with fear, flees the house. When Ted returns, he finds Yana gone and Darcy tears. Darcy accuses him of orchestrating Dani's murder, sharing that her psychometric reading of Olin's glass eye proved Olin's innocence. Ted tries to dodge her accusations, insisting she wait for a call from an investigator who could supposedly clear him. In a final trap, Ted leaves the phone by a trap door, and when Darcy goes to answer, she falls to her death. Ted's accomplice, Ivan, arrives to handle the situation, but is haunted by the wooden mannequin, ultimately ending up institutionalized by Ted, who then arranges for a violent cannibalistic inmate to silence him permanently. Alone in the rural house, Ted receives a final package from Darcy's shop, a bell haunted by a vengeful spirit. Ted defiantly rings it, not believing in the supernatural, but unbeknownst to him, the spirit stands beside him, sealing his fate with an ominous presence as the credits roll. Main characters: unusual figures in a twisted reality. The characters in Oddity each contribute uniquely to its eerie, psychological horror, each revealing dark realities in their connections to the supernatural and each other. Darcy Odello, or Dani Odello Timmis, played by Carolyn Bracken. Darcy, a blind clairvoyant and shopkeeper of cursed curiosities, adds a supernatural edge to the story. She has psychometric abilities, allowing her to sense memories tied to objects as previous owners, which drives her investigation of her twin sister Dani's murder. Darcy's unexpected arrival to the isolated country house sets up a series of chilling events, exposing dark secrets and her growing suspicion of Ted's involvement in Dani's death. Her sister Dani, meanwhile, was a warm, nurturing character dedicated to restoring the home. Dani's tragic murder is the mystery Darcy seeks to resolve, using her abilities to uncover the truth. Ted Timmis, played by Gwilym Lee. Ted, a psychiatrist and Dani's husband, begins as charming, but is revealed to harbor disturbing, murderous tendencies. Skeptical of supernatural claims, he dismisses Yana's belief in such forces and belittles the beliefs held by Dani's family. Ted's psychological descent and his cold, manipulative attempts to cover his tracks reveal his dark, arrogant nature and add a sinister layer to the unfolding horror. Yana, played by Caroline Menton. Ted's new girlfriend, Yana, becomes increasingly unsettled by the house and its atmosphere. Haunted by Dani's apparition, she struggles to convince Ted of her experiences. When Darcy arrives, Yana's fear only grows as she learns of Darcy's psychic insight, adding suspense as she tries to navigate the strange, supernatural occurrences, especially with the mannequin. Olin Bull, played by Taji Murphy. Olin, a former psychiatric patient of Ted's, is an abused and tragic figure, wrongly convicted of Dani's murder. He tried to warn her of impending danger the night she was killed. His glass eye, later examined by Darcy, plays a crucial role in uncovering Ted's dark secrets, maintaining Olin's influence even beyond the grave. Ivan, played by Steve Wall. Ivan, a brutish, orderly, and Ted's accomplice, is at first portrayed as a villainous figure, but reveals hints of remorse later on. While he helped in Dani's murder and attempted to harm Darcy, he eventually seeks spiritual redemption, haunted by his actions, and requests a priest for confession. His arc adds complexity to the story's moral landscape. The wooden mannequin. Though not a person, the mannequin takes on a life of its own. Originally a gift from a witch, this eerie artifact embodies a malevolent force in the house, seemingly shifting positions and even housing hidden compartments containing disturbing items. The mannequin becomes a symbol of suppressed trauma and serves as Darcy's instrument for revenge, especially as it torments Ivan in chilling encounters, escalating the horror and deepening the film's atmosphere. Unnerving atmosphere, setting the tone for horror. In Oddity, the setting and cinematography are central to creating and amplifying the unsettling and eerie atmosphere of the film. Set in a haunting, rural country house, the backdrop itself establishes isolation dread. With its shadowy, dilapidated corridors and dark passageways, the house in itself becomes a character on its own, trapping the characters in a dreadful yet timeless environment. The choice of the house, made of stone, where nature and silence surround the character, adds layers of suspense and mystery. The cinematography also contributes heavily to this tension by using a muted, desaturated color palette. This highlights the bleakness of the surroundings and creates a visual contrast that makes even the slightest movements of shadows stand out sharply. The use of natural lighting adds a sense of rawness to shots, and the long, lingering shots enhance the suspense, filling you with a sense of dread and tension. Damian McCarthy, the director, brilliantly utilizes tight framing and low angles to convey Darcy's vulnerability and heighten the sense of paranoia. His close-up shots of her hands as she reads objects psychometrically manage to keep the audience hooked for subtle detail. The mannequin's tall and looming presence is heightened by jarring shots that capture its quick, inexplicable movement, bringing life to an otherwise prop. Not to mention, the detailed shots of Darcy's and Olin's eyes will be enough to keep you up all night in terror. Finally, the sound design further immerses the audience by incorporating minimal but effective noises that add to the dread. The choice of songs played in the beginning and later on in the end brings the movie to a full circle. The setting and cinematography blend skillfully to draw the viewers into the deeply troubled setting of Oddity's world, creating a haunting and terrifying ambience that is sure to fill you with unease throughout the movie. Creatures and Nightmare, Monsters of Oddity. The creatures and supernatural elements in Oddity are both terrifying and yet symbolically rich, with each element representing aspects of trauma, guilt, and the darker facts of human nature. Let's take a deeper look at the creatures and elements of Oddity and what they symbolize. The wooden mannequin. Originally made by Paul McDonnell, the art director of Oddity, the wooden mannequin is perhaps the most prominent supernatural entity in Oddity. It was gifted to Darcy's mother by a witch, and later on, Darcy gifts it to Ted and Yana, much to their discomfort. The large wooden man, with his face stuck in a silent scream, exudes a sinister presence throughout the film. The mannequin contains disturbing items like hair and vials of blood in its concealed compartments and seems to have a deep connection to Darcy. A simple touch or examination of the mannequin seems to awaken something dark and vile in Darcy. She also uses this as a tool of vengeance, forcing those guilty of dark deeds to confront their crime. She uses it to kill Olin, who was previously convicted of killing her sister, and she uses it again to torment Ivan, the man who killed her sister. The wooden mannequin symbolizes family curse, old grudges, and the weight of familial trauma that Darcy carries with her. Dani's apparition. Dani's ghostly presence is another terrifying aspect of the film. Her restless spirit seems to hover around the house, and her appearances emphasize her tragic death and unfinished business. Dani's apparition becomes physical manifestation of Darcy's grief and determination for justice, and a lingering reminder of the bond they share. Her appearance in front of Yana also indicates Yana's trouble with accepting and being at peace in a house that was formerly owned by her and living with her husband. The bellhop spirit. The spirit of the bellhop, bound to a call bell, was given to Darcy in her cabinet of curiosity. The spirit is said to kill anyone who dares to ring the bell, and after the death of Darcy, the bell is delivered to Ted. Now, even though Darcy had warned Ted of the inevitable horror that was the bell, he still rang it, symbolizing his arrogance and lack of understanding of the afterlife. The bellhop's silent, yet ominous presence next Ted at the end suggests that the forces in Oddity are inescapable, especially to those who believe they are beyond accountability. Olin's glass eye. Although this was not a creature in the traditional sense, Olin's glass eye was the key that helped Darcy discover Ted's involvement in Dani's death. The eye serves as a bridge between the living and the dead, and embodies Olin's torment and unfulfilled quest to protect Dani. It shows the powerful impact that even inanimate objects could have when charged with emotional and supernatural energy. Ted Timmy. The true monsters in this movie were not the supernatural ones, but, the human. Ted's lack of remorse or guilt and his manipulation of others make him the worst kind of monster. Although he was presented as a nice, charming man in the beginning that Darcy and Dani seemed to adore, he soon became the terrible killer who took both their lives. His sense of self-worth, saying how leaving Dani is not a choice, as she could not cope with the pain of losing him, and his inflated arrogance, which got him killed in the end. What's next? Oddity and the future of unique horror film. Oddity has the potential to make a significant mark on the horror genre. With its unique blend of supernatural elements, psychological tension, and character-driven storytelling, Oddity focuses on atmospheric horror rather than relying on jump scares or fast-paced action, which was deeply enjoyed by horror enthusiasts. They lean heavily on building tension and dread through the setting and sound design, which further increases the atmospheric horror. The director also weaves together a psychologically nuanced method of storytelling with a supernatural narrative. He explores the relationships between the characters and their past, and aims to create a psychological horror with supernatural themes, which helps to delve into our human psyche. The movie also adopts a certain old-school method of storytelling, such as the use of objects. McCarthy was heavily influenced by movies like The Wicker Man and Annabelle, where they used dolls come to life to create horror. Even though he was inspired by these movies, he did not wish to cave in to using these dolls primarily to, create a horror feeling, which has been used many times in different movies, but rather, he just lets the objects remain in the background, creating a looming and ominous presence. The film's focus on these haunted objects, like the wooden mannequin and glass eye, also helps to portray them as extensions of past traumas and emotional energy, and not just as haunted items. The intricate and layered narrative structure we can see in Oddity sets it apart from traditional linear horror storytelling. It moves between the past and the present and reveals secrets piece by piece, which, keeps you guessing till the end. They experimented with a non-linear method of narration, which successfully added to its depth and made it rewatchable. Oddity also uses villains and heroes who are complex, morally ambiguous, and psychologically rich. The blend between folklore, witchcraft, and modern-day psychology has been explored in great detail. Oddity may inspire a surge of folkloric horror if it receives enough attention, fusing universal themes of justice, remorse, and law with enigmatic artifacts, isolated locations, and familial curses. Oddity is a significant contribution to development of the horror genre, since it may represent a return to the genre's origin, which tackles psychological and intensely intimate horrors in addition to supernatural. Marvelous verdict. I honestly had a blast watching this film. I have gotten quite great at guessing the plot by now, but this movie hooked me from the moment I sat down to watch it. There was no filler content or, unnecessary suspense, which has become quite tiring in the horror genre now. Of course, there were a few jump scares to keep you on your toes, and the way the characters feel so real and relatable makes this a great watch. I mean, with the presence of that wooden mannequin, it's impossible not to pay any attention to it. Not to mention the haunting beauty that McCarthy has managed to bring into the eyes of the character. Darcy's eyes alone managed to infiltrate my nightmare. The actors have also wonderfully brought all the characters to life. Oddity doesn't just aim to scare. It dares to explore the darker emotions we try to bury. Guilt, revenge, grief, and serves them up in a way that feels almost timeless. It's a film that will make you think twice about strange antiques, lonely houses, and family secrets. Whether you're a horror veteran or just looking for something to keep you on edge, Oddity promises an unsettling, memorable ride that leaves us wondering what will haunt us next. And that ends our video. If you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks, everyone.